going to be approaching them. And that leads nicely also into tip 29, which is going to be raiding woodland mansions also if you know what you're doing and if you're ready. The thing is, these woodland mansions are a little bit hard to raid and kind of come away with it alive, but if you're able to do so, most likely you're going to come away with a Totem of Undying, and essentially this is an item that if you're holding it in your hand and you take a death, it will instantly revive you. Minecraft right now, this is really the only way to cheat death like that, and it's probably the best item in the entire game. Again, looting a desert temple or trying to raid a woodland mansion both come with their risk, but they certainly have great rewards if you're able to do them correctly. Number 28 is going to be crouch walking backwards when fighting spiders, as it's going to make them a lot harder for them to hit you. This works best on spiders, of course. All enemy types aren't going to have a hard time if you're crouch walking backwards, but if you're specifically fighting a bunch of these, then this might not be a bad thing to do. Tip number 27, we talked about the benefits a little bit, but I'm going to go into more detail here. Carrying a water bucket for literally doing anything is a must-have, especially when mining. Even when fighting in combat is a good idea as well. If you're getting swarmed by mobs, literally just throwing water down will make it a lot harder for them to reach you and can basically be your escape. Setting a water bucket fall all the way down, maybe like a mine shaft or some kind of cave, and you can just swim right back up instead of having to climb up is a great idea as well. Always carry a water bucket, guys. Always. Tip 26, if you're trying to clear out a maybe big section of a cave and you don't want to manually mine it, if you pack it with TNT exploded, you're going to make so much ground and create a lot of excess resources that if that's what you're needing, then this is probably the best way to do it. TNT is pretty easy to make. You just need some gunpowder from creepers and things like that. It can be really helpful for mass clearing out a cave. It opens it up for you to do some actual like real mining inside of there and gives you just much more room in general. Tip 25 is saving the bottom trunk of the tree for last. What you can do with this, it's like a little quality of life thing. You save that one for the final break, so you can stand on top of it and break the rest of the tree so that it despawns, and then you get all of the wood, even if it's a little bit high up and out of your range. So you can break that one for the final, and then you end up with exactly the amount of wood that you should get from that tree, but it just saves you a bit of time. Tip 24 is making a shield to use against the pesky skeletons. A lot of new players struggle playing against skeletons just because they can hit you from a range, and it's a little bit hard to take these guys down, especially when there's a lot. But when you have a shield, you're able to hold this thing out in front of you as protection. You can hold it in your other hand if you like and have the sword in the other hand that's not being used, and you can take these things down with ease. Now, the shield is just a good tool to have in general. I think one of the most useful pieces of equipment you can make for yourself, but it's especially good against skeletons and pretty much all of the other mob enemy types. In my opinion, a shield is just as crucial as having, like, say, a sword or, say, having a pickaxe. They don't take too much to put together. They last quite a long time as well, so they're all around amazing. Tip 23 is going to be sprint jumping. Now, this is a pretty easy one to get a hold of. This is just jumping while you're holding your sprint key. It's the easiest way and fastest way to get around as well. Faster than sprinting. It does take up a lot of your hunger, but it is by far the most efficient way to get around. Now, if you have it as a setting, I recommend you turn it off because it's just easier to manually control beside from it making you auto jump, but it's the best way to get around and there's nothing really to it. Number 22 is to go ahead and make an anvil. Now, these are great for repairing all of your tools that maybe are low in durability and are close to breaking. All you need is the tool itself, maybe a resource, and then some XP in order to create this. Highly recommend you use this to maintain your valuable tools. This means like a diamond sword, a diamond pickaxe, and even armor. Anything you don't want breaking, an anvil will make sure that happens. Tip number 21 is it's going to be best to fish while it's raining. This will give you the best odds at getting a lot of fish. It's also really good to do this when we talked about opening multiple food sources. Maybe while you have other food cooking, go ahead and start fishing to just gather some more raw materials. It's also a chance that while you're fishing, you can grab things like armor. You might accidentally yoink a pair of leather boots right out of the water, and that happens sometimes, but more often than not, you're going to get some fish that's just going to be extra resources for you. It's best to do it while it's raining once again, so I recommend you take full advantage of the river and sea while that's actually happening. Tip number 20, bringing some seeds and even bone meal into caves is always a good idea, especially if you're going to be doing some extended mining. What I mean by that is like not leaving for a very long period of time to a point where you may run out of food. If you have bone meal, you have some seeds, maybe some mushrooms, you can actually grow some food down in the caves where you have some dirt. And sometimes that may be enough that what it is to keep you alive. Now, I don't think you're going to be using this all of the time, but it's one of those things that, in my opinion, is better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. You should ideally go into a cave with enough food, but if that's not the case, then